Okay, welcome everybody to the next edition where we're speaking to real business owners about the challenges and the wins, etc., that they're facing in these times, and basically not just rolling over and giving in. They're actually surviving and in these cases thriving. So I'd like to introduce Richard Hawkes of Hawkes Architecture. Hi, Richard.
Hello, Dean. How you doing? Good to see you.
Very well, thanks. And you?
Very well. Very well.
Good. Richard, we've known each other for a few years, but if you could just give everybody a bit of an intro as to what you do. There's a bit of a giveaway in the background there, but if you can give away, if you can give us an intro as to what you do for us.
It's a little bit different to having the washing in the background or bookshelf or something like that. So we try to jazz it up a little bit. So Richard Hawkes, director at Hawkes Architecture, and my journey started 11 years ago when I was building this house for myself and my wife and now family, and it set us on a journey designing houses, isolated houses in the open countryside, using a piece of national policy called Paragraph 79 that allows you to build houses in the open countryside if they're of exceptional quality, innovative in their nature of design, significantly enhancing the setting and sensitive to defining characteristics of the area, all that sort of stuff. And just never set out to do that when I built my own house, but wanted to kind of have my own practice. And I feel like the luckiest person alive to have to go to work every day and design exceptional houses.
I definitely think you're probably one of the luckiest people, but I think maybe luckier than you are the people who live in the houses that you design, actually, to be honest, Richard. But so just on that, I guess, who are your main clients that you're working with? And I'm not asking you to name names, but what sort of type of client are they? What sort of things are you expected to come up with?
Well, I'd say it's sort of changed a bit over the years, but generally speaking, it's someone who owns land rather than, we do now increasingly get people who are looking for land or have seen a piece of land that they're interested in buying might contact us. But years ago, the policy itself, Paragraph 79, not that many people will understand, they might have never heard of it before, anyone listening, but it has become, Grand Designs, for example, has showed more projects that have used this piece of policy. So it's become a little bit more mainstream in more people know about it. So people pick up the phone, they do a bit of Googling, they find it, or a planning consultant or someone says to them, there's this piece of policy. You're not allowed to build there. Local authority might say, forget it. There's this piece of policy, but it's really difficult. And then they Google it or whatever. And then I'm pleased to say we come up top spot on Google. And we've been able to forge a reputation. We've got the most success doing it by a long way. Done it for the most years, on the most sites, have the most experience, and of course that, when people are doing their research, they give us a call, and then they tend to like the advice to give them, like to be trying honest and robust about the advice we give. We don't want to paint yeses where we don't think stuff's going to happen. But I suppose I'm only able to do that because I get so many phone calls, but it means I can provide honest advice, not lead people down the garden path. There's a self-fulfilling endorsement of what we do.
Yeah. And just on that, because, this is where, I'm asking some of, the guys I'm interviewing, when did you first realize that this pandemic was going to change things for you? Now, your business is, one of these businesses which is still continuing to absolutely thrive, right? And grow week on week. So, we're not talking about a business here that has had major setbacks, although I'm sure you've had more challenges and different types of challenges. So we'll come to those in a minute. But when was it that you really sort of sat there and thought, you know what, maybe this pandemic is going to change some things for us?
I think that any changes, well, at the beginning of it, everyone, it was like locusts. They stripped the computers out of the office, all the pens and the paper and the pads and everything, kind of like left the office bare. They all went home, set up, and then the following day, 9 o'clock, every morning, 9 o'clock, we have a Zoom meeting to try and make sure we maintain that feeling of connectivity.
Yeah.
Because there's a great culture in the office. Everyone, we need to collaborate. We're a studio. And I'm very pleased to say the team settled into that really well, and they've been smashing it. Use your phrase, they've been smashing it ever since. And so it's kind of made that work-wise, I wondered whether we might get lots of phone calls from clients saying, you know what, can we just press the pause button while we understand what's going on? And I've literally, we're working on 33 houses like this.
Wow.
Around the country at the moment, which is quite a lot of plates to keep spinning, as well as other projects. But having that many plates to spin, I kind of expected some clients to just say, can you take my plate off for a moment? But we had one guy phone up who owns 10 bars, and it's decimated his lifestyle, livelihood and everything. And he said, look, can we press the pause button? I went, of course. Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Another guy was just about day one to start a construction of a project we got in planning consent for, and he was due to move out of their house into a converted garage while the works were going on. And funnily enough, he didn't fancy the idea of going through lockdown with his family in a converted garage.
Funny that.
So it's kind of no problem at all. That's 2 projects, and it kind of didn't make any difference at all.
But you've had I'm sure you've had other challenges, right? I'm sure you've as you said, the work from home side of it, and things like that. So you're still as busy as ever, if not busier.
Yeah.
But
there were a few weeks where the phone wasn't ringing.
Right.
And it didn't take long for me to realise, well, the longer we go without the phone ringing, that's because the time lag between me getting those first phone calls to going out, looking at and appraising their site, making sure the site has the right ingredients to put a case together, and then signing up and us actually getting on with work. That could be a 6-month process. And if I'm not constantly on a rhythm of going out and seeing those sites, it might be in 6 months' time we notice, oh, hang on a minute, we haven't had a signed instruction for a month, 2 months. So the lag for us, I think, whilst I might have expected more of an impact immediately, people pressing the hold button, I think clients are quite invested in what they're doing, and it's a long-term thing anyway, so it hasn't affected that. But I think maybe in 6 months, a year's time, we might, it might be that we see an effect of it. But I thought that at the beginning.
Yeah.
First 4 weeks of lockdown, 5 weeks, something like that, the phone didn't ring as much for sure. And actually, it was quite nice. There was a novelty of, just not constantly having phone calls, not constantly having inquiries, which is I'm not complaining, but it was quite nice. So I diverted my energy to set up a YouTube channel and spend some time putting some little videos together that explain some of the things about Para 79, and that's, we had a chat about it early on, and you said, what are you doing to come out stronger at the other end of it?
Yeah.
And I guess my mindset was I was already in that mindset in a sense, but it was a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
Directing my energies, that spare time that I would have been in cars, driving around the country, in meetings that we now can't have, blah, blah, blah. Diverting that energy onto something that partly something I've been meaning to do for ages. But then after 5 weeks, the phone just started ringing again. And I've been saying for the last month, apparently there's a global pandemic on. But it feels like a different world, really.
But this is from, this is not luck. This is from reward from all of the work, from your talents, from your team's talent, from all of the work you've put into this point, right? And this is where, it's, look, nobody saw this coming, and certainly not on this scale. So,
no.
But the fact that you're still busy and you're still growing, and your team are all still working, you're still coming up with designs and builds like we're seeing now behind you, is a tribute to everything you've done over the last 12 years or something, right?
Yeah.
And before that, so this is something that
you're background.
Sorry,
change of scenery.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So this is one of my personal favourites, actually. I like this one. We'll watch that move in a minute, so the viewers can watch that in a minute. But anyway, so I'm going to get sidetracked looking at the pictures. So, but what kind of, There it is. What kind of challenges have you faced? If you had one major challenge for you right now? So you've talked about the opportunities because that's really important, right? And you've set up a YouTube, and your attitude and your mindset has always been very positive, very I hate this the phrase "can do," but nothing phases you, right? Yeah. So you're probably as brave as your designs are, right? So but there must be something. There must be a challenge that stands out to you, and you think,
I'd say
that one.
A couple of different hats to wear on that one. One of the challenges is, it's all very well having. We've got a great team, a great office culture, and we all love coming to work, and it's just a lovely place to be. Now, at the beginning of lockdown, it's all a bit of fun, isn't it? A bit of novelty. Get yourself set up. It's a bit nice, isn't it? Oh, crikey, I haven't got to do the drive. All that type of thing. And so but you all still feel connected. You get together on Zoom every morning. It still feels very fresh.
Yeah.
One thing I am mindful of is the more time goes by, and it is going to, obviously, whatever this new norm might be and whatever, it's going to be some time before I've got, the office full of people again.
Yeah.
And the more time that goes by, it's daft of me to think that that's not going to have an impact on that culture.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. Well, it sort of worries me because it was such a precious thing.
Yeah.
In a sense. So I'm more trying to think, how can I best try and maintain it, because I still think it's a really important thing. So this morning meeting, often we don't talk about work. We talk about all sorts of other nonsense, but some days it is really helpful. But you understand what everyone else is working on, keeps you feeling connected. Rob in the office just sent a message earlier on, and he only lives about half a dozen miles away, but it was thunder and lightning there, and he's out in the conservatory on the polycarbonate roof.
Yeah.
And he's sent a video, and it's just like he needs ear defenders and PPE just to kind of cope with the working environment.
Yeah.
And it's just quite you feel sort of very connected.
Well, it's really important, isn't it, to have that fun, to have that, we all choose to become business owners, right? And we set the environment that we work in, and you've always it's been really important to you all the time to have a really good working culture within the studio.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I can see how that's going to be a challenge. And like you said, what is the new normal going to be? We just don't know. And this is going on for a long enough period of time when new habits are formed.
Yeah.
So I can see why that's a challenge. So you have daily calls at 9 o'clock in the morning. Is that right?
Daily call 9 o'clock, and through the day, the guys are getting in touch with each other on Zoom or MS Teams. I like Zoom because we're sharing screens and doing this type of things. I find it really helpful, especially for meetings and design reviews. But there's a nice ease and a fluidity to communication.
Right.
One of the issues we did have, sending everyone out, then trying to connect to the server. We're on a farm in the middle of nowhere with predictably crap upload speed and download speed, stuff like that. So I had to get an antenna put on the office and a mobile router. So we're using the 4G network. And all of a sudden our upload's 10 times quicker. So I'm like, hey! When I put an attachment on an email, instead of it going, it's up. So I was like, hey! So I feel like we've entered the 21st century. A potential client phoned up last week, and it would have been a phone call, chat, and then we might have arranged a time where I'd go and see them, or they come down to me. But instead, I said, "Well, are you on Zoom? Should we do a Zoom call?" So we did a Zoom call. They're sitting on their sofa. We had a good chat. As the chat went on, I was able to share some things with them that reminded me of some of the, what they're talking about. So I showed them some other things.
Yeah.
Talked about that, and the nature of the discussion, being able to do it on Zoom, which I wouldn't have done before. I've Zoom chatted with you before.
Yeah.
But I think you introduced me to Zoom, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I never used it. But I'd suggested to the guys, why don't we connect on Zoom? And at the end of that 1 hour call, the client said, he said, looked at his wife and he said, we'd given ourselves a month to find the right architect, but I think we found our guy, and that was it. Yeah. That was like Zoom really helped that, and so I'm like, well, actually, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this because this saves a lot of time.
It really does. So, I mean, and that's what I was going to ask you. You know, so where do you see this going? What, you know, we've already said we don't know what the next normal is. We don't know what it's going to look like, when it's going to come. But how do you see after we do get through this, because we have to get through this, right? So when we do get through it, what do you see? Are you going to welcome literally with open arms the face-to-face meets? Are you going to keep to Zoom, or are you going to mix it up, or how do you see it?
I can't imagine clients. So normal business would be if we're working on someone's scheme. There are times when obviously we've got to go over to site or see them, or meet planning officers or a design panel. Of course, normally we go. You know, if it's in Plymouth, we've got to drive all the way down there for a meeting. I've done it. I've driven all the way down to Plymouth to meet a parish council who you knew full well are coming along like this, don't really want to listen and engage anyway, and predictably a few weeks later send a message back to the planning officer that they don't agree with what we're doing. And it's like, that was a waste of time.
Yeah.
So now we're having to do, I did a design review a couple of weeks ago, and we had planning officers, we had councillors, we had the design panel. We couldn't meet, couldn't go out and do a site visit. So we sent a photographer out with a really sophisticated 360-degree camera.
Right.
I've got one, but it's a little cheap, you know, thing.
Yeah.
But it's still a good bit of kit. But this guy went out with a really cool bit of kit.
Right.
Went on a route that we drew for them, footpaths and around the site. And then we had over Zoom, we had an hour where I took them on a site visit. And we literally were walking around the site, 360-degree. There was one point I'm under this massive, great copper birch tree, and I'm in the computer and I'm looking up and saying, "Isn't this tree magnificent?" And then there's other places where we're in the footpath. So well, there's that copper birch tree we saw earlier, and literally you got back round to the site after this hour, short refreshment break before coming back and then getting on with the design review. But it felt really natural. And absolutely 100%, everyone at the end of it was like, we can carry on doing this. There's no need to have 10 cars turn up from all over the country to have that meeting.
Exactly. And I think what it has done, you know, I've said over and over really to people that I think, you know, technology has been brought forward by, you know, even up to 5 years. I think, you know, we would have got here, but it's sped it up enormously. And I think what it's now become, as I said earlier, you know, it's where habits are formed, and I think it's becoming a norm. So even like with my coaching, you know, I've been running it on Zoom for, you know, 3-4 years or something. But there were times when some of my clients would say, actually, I'd rather do face to face. But now that's not available. So we have to do it on Zoom. You know, so now, you know, there's no excuse for people to lose business or to not have business, because we've all found a way around it, you know. And you know, even most
family calls on a Sunday afternoon and a quiz. I'm not going to bother seeing my family actually. And we just see them on.
You still see your children, Richard. You can pop downstairs and
I can see them. We're in the same bubble.
Brilliant. So, I mean,
actually, one thing you say about like technology, and Zoom's all right, because Zoom, we can do this green screen thing. I've got a green screen behind me. Zoom allows me to sit here or sit on the beach, or go up into space. But none of the others. MS Teams doesn't do that. Google Meets doesn't do that. I need to be able to present. Yeah. So if I want to have a slide up and talk about a building, I'll be able to and
exactly.
You know, and I can do this with this sort of technology, but all the platforms need to speed up and get on with this.
Yeah, they do.
But I kind of see myself that this is the sort, you know, we're the sort of people that help to get these things moving.
Exactly that. But then that's why Zoom has become what it has. You know, it's a household name, right? People hadn't even heard, like you say, people hadn't heard of this even a year ago. You know,
you Google for information and you Zoom to have a chat.
Yeah, and it just does. You know, I was saying in another one of these interviews actually, where we were talking about it being, you know, the phone call is almost dead, right?
Yeah,
You know, everybody just says quick Zoom, you know, and it's done that way. So you know, you touched earlier just on some of the YouTube channel and that you've set up and the videos that you're doing. So what other things have you, sort of marketing wise, how have you adapted? What have you done to change your marketing, or have you continued the same way, or what have you done there?
I mean, you know, there's quite a lot of sophisticated things that go on in our process from the first phone call. Normally, it wouldn't be me taking that first phone call. It would be someone in the team. But since lockdown, I've been the only person office based.
Right.
So I've been taking all the calls. We started doing it having the phone forward to different people on the team as a bit of a rota. But generally, I'm taking the calls, which is slowing my time down. And now the phone's obviously busier than ever. It really is. It genuinely is, which I don't understand. But anyway, I need to offload those phone calls. But we have a lot of processes to go through incrementally the way to deal with those inquiries.
Right.
And pretty much that structure's there. I mean, a lot of time has been spent developing that structure. So, and that has shown itself, it's a very robust thing. Yeah. But things I have done to help make it better, I'm always trying to improve it, is, I say, this YouTube channel. Something I've been meaning to do for ages is talk about, I've got so much in my head, so much to talk about on Para 79. Is getting some of that out there. Yeah. I've constantly thought maybe there's a book to be written about it, but I haven't got time to do that. But doing little YouTube videos, it gives people a chance to just sit there on their phone, laying in bed or whatever it might be, or they're bored. This is the sort of way people like to communicate and see things and get content. So just put some of that content out there, little 3, 4, sort of 7-minute videos. And I'm just blurting on. I kind of think, oh, Richard blabbing on about Para 79 again, but the content, I make it quite specific. So I'm only talking about a specific little issue. And then one video links to another, and people are getting in touch, you know, now, and they're saying, oh, saw your videos, they're really useful. And when I send emails back to people on inquiries, if they're phoning up and they've got a site on the edge of a settlement, I can send them a little email about the principle of isolation and the Braintree case. And it might sound really dry, but when they listen, I talk in really lay person terms.
Yeah.
I'm not a pretentious architect who dropped big word bombs. and people, you know, they relate to it and they get much more content out of it. And they've seen my face, they've heard me say it, they hear how I come across, and then they want to pick up the phone and have me and ask me about their site.
Exactly. I mean, so it's opened loads of opportunities in that way. So we've talked about, you know, really briefly about the technology and you know what you're doing and the different types of marketing and things like that. So it's, you know, you don't really do direct marketing. You're running snippets like that of giving value and things, right, and helping to explain.
Yeah.
Things. And that's
we just put them out on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, those sort of things, and we've got a mate who designs our website. He's constantly looking into, you know, behind the scenes of what the Google bots are looking at and how that type of thing needs to work. And I just leave him to it. And then we occasionally he'll have an up for, you know, have you got any new projects want to come in, new images, and we kind of, you know, just get those into the website, keep the website looking fresh, news posts every now and again, just to keep things going. But that's tick over stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important to do. You need to keep your website looking up to date and all that type of thing. But then other things. I mean, this year, 2020, clear vision. That was you know, I thought, what we're going to do.
Good luck with that, hey, you know.
I know, yeah. Those people who got those 2020 diaries, they're throwing them in the bin. Brilliant. But one of the things I wanted to do this year was just kind of become a bit more kind of front facing in like I was on May the 8th. I was supposed to, and I've been working with Grand Designs obviously for years, but this year, rather than them phoning me and saying, do you want to come on and do an interview with someone, I said, look, I've got so much to talk about. How about I run a session? And so not only do we do that, I said Kevin McLeod, he loves talking about Para 79. I'm sure he'd be like to be involved. So we had it set up, Bank Holiday Friday, lunchtime session, Grand Theatre, me setting up a panel with Kevin there on my panel, if you like. So rather than the other way around, where I'm normally that was a step up. You know, me actually having to chair something like that would have been a real step up. And you know, I got a load of panel members together, and now it's the Nightingale Hospital.
Right.
So that hasn't happened, but it will.
So just on that, because it didn't happen, like you say, that's a big deal, right? I mean, that's, you know, the fact that you've been on Grand Designs and that, you know, as we know, you know, that's massive in itself, that you get that stage to show your work off, talents off and that. But then to have it where it's actually going to be your gig and you've got Kevin McLeod on there, you know, that's a massive disappointment. And a lot of business owners could really, you know, I'm a massive fan of, you know, and believer of how powerful mindset can be, right? And it's all about keeping the right mindset. So what did you do how did you take that? You know, did you go through a bit of an emotional roller coaster, or did you just deal with it, or how did,
to be honest,
deal with that?
I didn't. Yeah, it's not like I don't do that. It's not. Yeah. It's you can't do anything about it. It will happen at some point, and effectively, the show doesn't know how it's going to reinvent itself. You know, you've got some of the other shows, they're doing it all virtually. So you literally go into a show, you go into a lobby and you click on different banners for which sections you want to go in, and they kind of make it look like a virtual environment. You click on someone's stand, go into it, interactive content.
Yeah.
And it might be Grand Designs Live doesn't come back in a normal format for a long time, who knows? But you can't control it, so I don't really worry about it. But I think, and also, I've never had a stand on a show. Never wanted to. I don't pay for marketing or or anything like that, because the phone rings enough. The last thing I need to do is have 10 days out at one of these shows, collect loads of leads, and come back and then struggle to get on top of them, struggle to deal with other ones that are coming in, struggle to deal with the plates we already are spinning. So you've got, you know, we've got plenty. You know, I'm blessed that the phone doesn't stop ringing, so I haven't got to worry about that stream.
Yeah.
And our presence in our particular marketplace. I think specialism's a big part of why we've been okay. I've seen plenty of articles about how, you know, being a generalist is possibly going to hurt people more. Whereas I remember when I first started work at the beginning of the 90s, or middle of the 90s, the practice I worked at, they were mainly office specialists.
Right.
And then once their marketplace plummeted, they had to, you know, get rid of, I know, 3/4 of the staff type of thing. Massive hit. So when they came out of that, they realized they should have eggs in different baskets. And so I kind of grew up thinking it's good to have eggs in different baskets because it gives you resilience and things like that. But actually, you've got to be careful, because if you become a generalist because you've got eggs in different baskets, then all of a sudden, what makes you stand out from any other one providing a service?
Exactly that. I don't think, you know, people are scared by the word niche at times, right? And you become a specialist. And it's funny you say that, because I put a post on LinkedIn the other day, and it said about this yacht broker that was selling this 125 mil yacht. And when asked if that potential client was coming to that exhibition in Monaco, they turned around and said, yeah, because we are focusing on the 1% of the wealthiest 1%. So, you know, as we said about, you know, with technology and stuff like that, if you can't sit there and say, oh, well, I'm too niche, or, you know, I don't do technology or things like that. You've just got to carve that out and be the best, and be totally targeted on who your prospects, your clients are, and be that go-to.
Yeah, absolutely. Funnily enough, actually, we had a new project up in Chesterfield. We were shortlisted from a series of architects to put a proposal in. As you know, I've spent a long time designing my fee proposals.
Yeah.
It's one of the most important documents you create, and a lot of architects will realise, oh yeah, never thought about that.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time designing our fee proposals. But because we are niche, I know what my audience is all about. So I know what to show them and what to tell them. I equally know what not to show them and not what not to tell them.
Exactly.
I know where the risk areas are. I know how to talk about it. And then apparently, when they see the work we do, even from that first proposal, the first phone call, the advice we give stands above every bit of advice they hear from anyone else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall on some of these other conversations and see some other, see what other people are doing. But clearly, we're doing something right.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, just changing tack slightly. So probably the last question with what we've got time for, actually. But what would you say over the last 3 months? How have you? I'm going to add another question after this, actually. But how have you? What have you learned about yourself during these 3 months, Richard?
I am an optimist, and I am a glass half full type person. And if you said to me, oh, there's going to be a global pandemic, everyone's going to have to work from home, your office culture is going to be, pulled apart, and everyone's going to be a bit of that, I would have been pretty scared about that, and pretty fearful.
Yeah.
But actually, I've learned that actually, even in big stuff like that, I'm a glass half full type person. I'm resourceful. You see opportunity as soon as it was happening. I was like, right, I could see an opportunity to use the space that was created by not being out in the car driving around the country, and put that time to good use. I've also enjoyed more time with the family. Whatever. I have been a little bit envious of people who've been on furlough sometimes.
Haven't we all? You see that, and you just think, oh, there's
lovely suntans. They've gone out and they've dropped 3 stone, and they're going out on walks every day, and then they go back to work refreshed. But on the other hand, I can understand that people who are on furlough will say, yeah, but I haven't got much. I'm not feeling very secure.
Exactly.
So I'm very proud and grateful that everyone on the team has not had to worry about any of that. One of the guys on the team, he was looking to go and become a pilot.
Yeah.
And as I say to everyone on the team, if they've got a dream to do something, I understand that it might be that Hawks is just part of a life journey for them. But if they've got a dream to do something, I'd rather know about it so I can help them get there.
Yeah.
Than seem like they can't talk about it and it's taboo.
Yeah.
One of the guys, he had a dream to become a commercial pilot. I can't think of a worse job in the world, if I'm honest. Sitting in a cupboard switches, responsible for all those people, and you don't get patted on the back every time you land. Though I couldn't think of anything else. Anyway, he set on this childhood dream. He got through loads of stages of it, got to a point where he passed the medical and everything, and was acceptable to go on to one of the courses. It's a lot of money to go on.
Yeah.
And he couldn't quite afford to get on it, so he came back with us and had a bit of a break to kind of clear his head a bit. Came back, and he's been firing on all cylinders. But interestingly, in lockdown, a lot of the people he knows are on this course. Some of them funded by the airline, and the airlines have gone, can't do that anymore. You're off. And they might have spent 4 years, 5 years on this course, and all of a sudden they're now
it's whipped away from it. Yeah.
And they're like, what do they do next? So he's kind of like, that's no life for me. I can't do that. Yeah. So he's now sort of thinking, actually, mate, it was a great idea. I've got to a point. He didn't give up on it, but the world changed.
Well, as we said, what we thought it was going to look like, it doesn't look like that anymore, does it? And if we don't change, then we're in danger, right? So it's been really, really good talking to you, because the reason of these videos is to share this with the broader community, and to say, we don't have to roll over, right? We can be positive. There's other options. Straight away, I'm like you. As soon as something like this happens, even whether it's I remember the downturn, a totally different ball game in scale, but the downturn in 2009 and things like that, where there's plenty of opportunities out there that we just didn't even know existed. And if we step back and look at things in a different way, we can actually improve what we were doing, even if we were successful before. And Hawks Architecture is living, breathing proof of that, along with many other businesses that I've spoken to, and and that I work with. So,
yeah.
you know, it's
Hawks Architecture is more resilient as a business than British Airways.
well, there you go. Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought that before lockdown.
Put that up on the wall, right? Brilliant. Love that. I haven't used that. I'm going to steal that if you don't mind.
Please don't. I can imagine the comeback when their quarterly profits come back in a couple of years' time.
That's brilliant.
Fun for a while.
Yeah. Who knows, right? We don't know what the future will bring. So, but look, Richard, I really, really appreciate your time. It's been great speaking to you. And
no worries.
Thanks very much.
No worries. Take it easy, Lee. Dean, take it easy.
Cheers, bye.